go get in the car. I was like, oh god, white trash. Here we come. But
Welcome to the Roommates Couch Podcast. I'm Aaron.
I am Kelton. What's up, everybody?
Oh my god, babe, we're roommates.
I wanted to ask you the question that has launched 1,000 podcasts. And I'm going to make a little bit of a tweak to the question. So think about it carefully. Imagine you're in your local 2-story mall, right? And here's your challenge. You have from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., so all day, the mall is closed. If you had to fight 1,000 first graders, and if you could survive and win within that 12-hour period, you'd win $1 million. Do you think you could do it if you didn't have access to any kind of weapons?
Wow. What a question. So the mall I'm in the Provo City Center Mall, okay?
Provo City Center. Perfect.
It's like the south end of town, and it used to be like the hot spot. Like that's where whenever I lived in a town south of Provo about 30 minutes, and you would drive north up to Provo. And so everyone in Nephi just says, I'm heading up north. And when you head up north, you're going to Provo. That's just kind of what it means. And so for my whole childhood going into high school, you went up north and you went to the Southtown Provo Mall. That mall, my memory, the only thing I can think of is the food court and the Spencer's gift shop, because I could never go in the Spencer's gift shop. And so I think I would have to take refuge in the Spencer's gift shop, hoping that the obscene things in aisle 3 would keep some of the first graders at bay.
Keep you safe. Okay.
maybe pull something off the wall, and I guess if you barricade. We've been watching The Walking Dead quite a bit, and I would put a walker on the same level as like a first grader, like kind of dumb, kind of slow.
Yeah.
And the way that they basically
but overwhelming
make it
in
through
numbers. Yeah.
That 1,000 is a lot. Like it is and it isn't, because if you think of like a football stadium, that can be upwards of 50 to 100,000. So 1,000 people comparatively to that's just like a small little section. 1,000 first graders, I feel like I could barricade pretty easy. And so what's the goal again? I have to just survive for 24 hours?
So you have to beat all of them up and not be beat up yourself. And you have 12 hours to do it. But you can't use any weapons found in the mall. Do you think you could physically do it?
Yeah, I was thinking about this all wrong. I was thinking about
barricade is all about long-term survival. So I think you're on the right track as far as apocalypse goes, which, we might be on our way there. So
I think you'd have to funnel them. I don't think you could take 1,000 all at one time. So you'd have to funnel them. So there'd be a barricade system. Then if it's a 2-story mall, I feel like you could like kind of funnel them through the escalators and just toss one off one at a time.
There you go.
Arms are going to be sore. Pretty morbid, but I think I could do it. What about you? What's your strategy there?
So I was thinking kind of the same thing. Like you just got to keep moving. Don't let them like pile up too much in any given place. But I don't know that I could do it, like realistically. Serena's been training for a half marathon, and she's running like crazy, and it's got me thinking like, how far can I run, and how healthy am I? And the answer is not healthy. I can run about a mile before I start wishing that I was dead. So I imagine 12 hours of cardio on top of, you got to get like, you don't want to waste too much energy. So if you're swinging at these kids, they've got to be solid jaw shots, put them out instantly kind of moves. And I don't know that there's any professional fighter in the world that can swing for 12 straight hours while running and still be okay. So I don't know. I'd like to think that I'm like capable enough. And I think if I planned it like yours and kind of funneled them, then there's a chance, but who knows?
Dude, it's a wild scenario. I don't want to put myself in a position beating up first graders, but I like the idea of being like pushed beyond your limits, like physically. Like I want to have that experience. It's like I feel like you get that early on in your childhood a lot. Like for some reason we just like let kids play football or let them do all these types of things where adults are pushing them well beyond their limits. Like I remember one time, like in a football practice, I had thrown my guts up, like I was done, and it just like they push you beyond that.
Keep
and
going.
You don't get that in adulthood, and like especially physically. Like I am a blob of jello. I sit on my butt like 12 hours of the day. But yeah, I would like that experience. We just recently watched like a special forces training where they just take a bunch of celebrities and throw them into it's like a Green Beret training.
Oh yeah,
system.
yeah,
So-
yeah. I saw
yeah,
advertisements for that.
and they drop out like flies, and I guarantee like 1,000 times easier than the actual version of it. But I would love like an experience like that. I think that would be pretty sick.
Yeah, you should consider doing the Tough Mudder, because my dad did that, and like it's a run, like you got to train for it and stuff. But there's like all these additional obstacles and stuff, and like things that are kind of ridiculous. Like he was telling us, there's like wires that they'll hang down that are like live wires, and as you are crawling through like the mud or whatever, it's like shocking you in the back. Or he was like, yeah, there's this one part where you literally have to run through like a set of arches, and all the wires are hanging in front of you, and like one of the wires like hit him so hard that he like just locked up and fell over like in the middle of the Tough Mudder. You should do something like that.
Yeah, jeez, that sounds crazy. It reminds me. Have you ever heard of the Iron Cowboy?
He does the Ironmans, right?
Yeah.
Or is that a
dude.
race?
So no, yeah, it's that one guy. I think his name's James something. But the Iron Cowboy, that guy, he lives in the area around where I'm from, and he ran 100 triathlons, 100 days straight.
Ugh.
I'm like, mind blowing. Like
Yeah.
I just can't imagine. But his mental limit to like go beyond that, so crazy.
Astonishing.
And I've like read some of his stuff and listened to some of his stuff, and his whole thing is like, I don't think I'm really that special. He's like, my brain and the way I'm wired is like, I just know that I don't have limits. He's like, I can just push beyond that. And I'm like, oh, it'd be so cool to tap into that. But like, I don't know if I have it. I think the second I get shocked by the Tough Mudder wire hanging down, I'm like, I'm done.
All right, this is over. I'm going home.
Where's my couch?
Yeah.
Do you know what meme means in the Urban Dictionary?
MEMMY?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so the other day I have a New Year's resolution. Oh yeah, we were gonna talk about this.
Okay,
So,
yeah, I'm gonna bring that up in a minute.
Wanna-
Finish your story.
okay, all right. Well, maybe you should set it up because then it'll be a good segue.
Okay. What are some of your resolutions, and how are you doing on them so far now that we're halfway through the first month?
Yes. So I do have 3 resolutions. The first one being I would like to support friends' business every month of the year. So I'm going to choose at least one of my friends, and if I don't have 12 friends with 12 different businesses, we'll go back and re-support my friends that do have businesses. But
That's why you bought one of my
there's a handful
shirts.
of them. I did. So I knew that this was kind of coming up, and I was like, I need to do the grand reveal. I was hoping I would have it by now, but I ordered too late because I kept putting it off. So I am supporting my first friend's business, and so Mimit, with your streaming, you have your new store, and your stuff is sick. You want to tell the listeners a little bit about it?
I designed a lot of merch for my stream, and I have like themed nights that I do, and so some of them are kind of themed towards what I stream, and other ones are kind of just designs that I thought were cool and that I would wear. So typically on like Mondays I play RPG games. On Tuesdays we watch anime as a community. Like I'll turn it on and stream it, and we kind of just do live reactions. On Wednesday it's kind of a variety night, so it changes a lot. And then on Saturday I play scary games, and it's called Spooky Saturday. So there's different designs and stuff that are on the store available, based on those themes.
And so I got me a super extra large long sleeve shirt. I love long sleeve shirts. I love them baggy. So I'm excited to get my gear, and hopefully next week I'll be wearing it. But that was one of my resolutions. I am doing 100%. I'm batting 1,000 right now.
Boom.
As far as supporting my business, my friend's business, and I'll make sure you get a shout out and stuff. I'm gonna post about my journey. Other friends I have, like they have hunting businesses, and I have a friend that does a snowmobile business and stuff. So there's lots of varying interests out there that will be kind of fun to document that journey. And then my other resolutions, I got one spiritual resolution. I'm just gonna read my scriptures, and then my last one, oh my gosh, is I'm going to walk every day. So my father-in-law and I, big thing that we like to do is we like to do overnighters. So we probably went on 4 or 5 last year, and the last one we went on was like a 7-miler up, 7-mile back, it's 14-mile in total, and it killed me. Like it was bad. Mm-hmm. It started raining in like the first 10 seconds, and I got these fat blisters, and so I blamed it on that. But yeah, it was a rough one. So this year I'm going to start walking every day so that I can do more of that and not want to kill myself. And so far, doing okay. I think I've missed like a couple days, but let's keep pushing through. I need to do it today, so hopefully I can keep up with it.
It's
about you,
it's
man?
9:40 p.m.
I know. it's bad because it's like I don't like doing things that take me away from my family, but I
Uh,
have actually been doing things more recently. I don't know. I've been doing things that I've just been breaking the norm because me and Chan, like we spend all day, every day, whenever we can together. But I've been spending a little bit more time doing the podcast, do gaming with friends and stuff. And so the running thing, I try to not make it another thing. And so I'll either
gotcha.
do it late at night or I'll do it when she's
Super
gone
early
or whatever.
morning
So
or yeah. Okay. Well, cool. I think those are perfect. And you're doing significantly better than me because I also have 3 resolutions and 2 of them are not going well. I guess one is not going well, one is okay, and then a third one I'm like kind of on track but not really. So my first one, I want to stream 500 hours this year, just as a way to kind of grow my streaming side gig. It's something that I really enjoy doing, and so it's just like, why not go for it, you know? And I felt like I streamed a lot last year, and at the end of every year, you get like, it's sort of similar to the Spotify Wrapped, where they like send you all of your data or whatever. The streaming platform that I use is like, hey, you went live this many times and for this many hours and all that stuff. And in all of 2022, apparently I only went live like 40 times. So it was like once every 10 days I was going live, something like that. It's like 8.9 or 9 days. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to stream 500 hours this year to to work on that. I wanted to go to the gym 3 times a week because, like you, I don't do that, and I have been a total of 0 times so far this year. So I'm really killing that one. And then I want to read 12 books. And there's a childhood friend that I have that he does that resolution every year, and he always posts. He'll finish his book and he'll post like a review on his Instagram, and it's really cool. And it's something that I like actually value a lot in his content that he posts. And so I wanted to do a mix of fiction and nonfiction, just so I'm kind of increasing my my knowledge or my mental ability a little bit, but also like taking breaks to have just like a goof around fun story. This month I'm reading A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking, and I don't know if you've read it or if you have a desire to read it. I know last time that you were in Arizona, we kind of sat outside my backyard and lit a fire and we're just looking up at the stars and stuff, but I am unhealthily obsessed with space and the physics of space and black holes specifically, and how everything functions around me, because it's just like the world is, it's crazy and there's so many things going on at one time. It's hard to understand, and I want to have a better knowledge of it. But I was reading actually on Wednesday, and something that he put in the book kind of shattered my reality a little bit. And I know you're familiar with this story that I'm going to kind of break down, but Galileo's famous experiment where he like goes up to the top of the Tower of Pisa and he drops the lead balls down, and like one's heavier than the other to show that like, items of different weight will still fall at the same rate until they hit terminal velocity and all that kind of stuff. That never happened. Not even a little bit of that story is true. What he actually did was he built a ramp, just a regular old ramp, and he rolled 2 balls down and showed that their increased acceleration at the same rate was evidence that they would fall at the same rate even if it was at a high location, which is, it's really weird to me to think about that, because I don't know why we would feel the need to like teach an allegory as fact. Because like in school, that was like, oh, Galileo went up to the top of the Tower of Pisa and then he dropped balls and then he proved that, they fall at the same rate even if they're different weights. But in reality, the experiment that he did could be like pretty easily reproduced in a classroom. So I don't know why we don't just say the story of, oh yeah, he built a ramp and he rolled stuff down it, and here we're going to do it as a class to show you how it works. Like that would just make so much more sense to me. So that like really shook my brain as far as like the American education system and why we bother to do things the way that we do.
Yeah, that would be an interesting thing to look more into. Like I've seen things like that happen in the past, and 9 times out of 10, what it is it's a marketer's approach to how does the story sell better.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's going to be more memorable of him climbing to the Leaning Tower of Pisa, because I could visualize that one a lot more. And then like when you say rolling a ball down the ramp, it looks really different to a lot of different people. The Leaning Tower of Pisa, I think, is like a universally accepted, like, oh, I can visually see how that's going to work.
Big, yes, they fall.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Our chimpanzee
We're a
brains
simple
understand
creature.
it better.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of like, I believe it's called the Mandela effect.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like we just memorize things incorrectly, and we do that. It's just our brain's way of like, being like, oh, this just feels better. Like I don't know, like if that has like a crossover of like
Yeah,
This story just kind of feels a little bit better, so we'll
it's
roll
cooler.
with it.
It's cooler to
But
say this.
I love that and I hate that because it's like, what is real? What isn't? You know, like I just when it comes to history stuff, it's often just a person's account because they didn't have cell phones to record it or
Mm.
to write it down in that moment. And so, man, I know personally. And I thought about this the other day. I was going through. I'm like, I think I do this more with you than any of my other friends, where I tell you the same freaking thing over and over and over again because I have a limited amount of stories
Well, that's because
in
I
my
don't
life.
listen.
And I feel like I tell you the same thing over, but I also know that I'm an embellisher, so the story will change every time. So you
Mm.
probably don't remember my stories because it's probably the same story
It's a
told a
different story
different
to
way
me every single time.
every single time. And I'm gonna be a mess when the Alzheimer's kicks in, and I'm just rolling in my 5 stories.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that is pretty crazy. You just shattered my reality.
Yeah, it's
Stephen,
a
Stephen
marvelous
Hawking.
book, and it's full of just weird little nuggets and stuff like that. I also he talks about that same experiment where he dropped like the lead weight and the feather to show like the impact that air resistance has on items. So like in theory they should fall at the same rate, but one can't because the air is just pulling on it more. There was an astronaut when we very first went up to the moon. So David Scott, he performed that exact same experiment on the moon to just verify the claim because it's like, oh, this is our first time off the planet. Like, let's see. And they fell at the same rate. So the moon doesn't have an atmosphere, so there's no air. It rotates at a much slower rate than Earth does, and it doesn't have a magnetic field. So there's zero air on the moon. Dropped a feather and a lead weight at the same height, and they touched the ground at the same time, which is just it. I don't know. It breaks my brain to think about it, but
Yeah. Hey, space is crazy. I don't think about it often. Like I don't have that like childhood wonderment that like you have and tons of people do have. And I think what it is for me is like the more I think about it, the more I'm like, none of it makes sense. Like the fact that we're on this little marble and we are so small and insignificant comparatively to everything else that's in space. And then I think I don't even I'm so small and insignificant on our little marble. Like it is just like so crazy when you narrow it down. It's like, man,
yeah,
what is it's wild. None of it makes sense, but then it all has laws and
yeah.
meaning, I guess.
Yeah, I was watching because like I think about the vastness of the universe sometimes, and I get that same like, I almost get a feeling of just like nothing can possibly matter in the infinite cosmos, and I was watching this show that kind of talks about infinity and how it works as far as like a mathematical construct, and you know how it would apply to physics in our universe. And have you ever played Pac-Man?
Yes.
You know how you run off one side of the screen and then you just come back on the other? So based on Einstein's theory of relativity, I'm having a hard time. Essentially, the universe is spherical in nature. And there's obviously a point at the center where a majority of the mass is concentrated, and galaxies and everything are moving away from each other at increasing speeds all the time. And we don't know, what's at the center of the universe, or that point that holds everything together. But the general shape of it is that it's built like a sphere. And so in theory, if you were to travel to one end of the universe, you would keep going and loop back and eventually reach your starting point. So almost like if you were to walk across the entire planet just in one direction, like let's say theoretically you could walk on water and you never got tired and you just walked forever, you would start in California, let's say, and if you walked east, you'd eventually end up coming over the western horizon back into California. And that's sort of how the universe works. And it just is so much for my brain to try and comprehend. But that's why I'm reading. I want to understand stuff. So
No, dude, it's a good mission. I don't think I've read a book since 4th grade. So
well, I highly recommend A Brief History of Time.
have you read The Alchemist?
I don't think so.
Hey, that might be one that you need to add to your list this year, and then I'm gonna add it to my list and we need to read it. Whenever I ask book people, I'm like, what should I read? They always mention that Alchemist is like a very good theory.
Oh.
So
Is it like
someone who's read
fiction, nonfiction? Is it like kind of a theoretical fiction, or it's like a story but based around science concept?
I think
that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I
No worries.
honestly
I'll add
don't
it.
know. I just know it's on the list of people who say, as far as deep thinking books, like that's high up there. So
Okay.
I'll look into it for us
Yeah.
and we'll
Well,
Talk
I
about that one
didn't
later
have a
down the
book
road.
picked out for February, so maybe I'll buy that on Amazon tonight, and then by the time it gets here, I'll finish this one and can get it started.
I'm gonna join you. I'm gonna read my first book since 4th grade.
Excellent. Oh, one more thing that was in that book, if you're ready for me to shatter your brain again with allegories that somehow became fact. Isaac Newton, the guy that quantified gravity, was not sitting under an apple tree, and an apple did not fall on his head. Never happened. He wrote in his journals that one day he was pondering. He's just thinking, and has seen an apple fall down at some point and was like, oh, why would that happen? What's the deal here? And just considered it for enough time to come up with gravity.
Everything's a lie.
Everything is a lie. Nothing is real. There's no point in
Nothing
the
is
universe.
real.
Goodbye.
You can just go on forever. You'll end up exactly where you started. So it doesn't
Exactly.
matter what you do, where you go. It's gonna be the same.
You're always returning to start. I have some wild theories on that exact concept, and we can go over them later because we got to move on from here. But
Okay, I'm putting a pin in that. I want to come back to that.
Avatar, The Last Airbender. You and I watched all of Last Airbender and all of Legend of Korra together on our couch, on the roommate's couch. Which, like, if
On
we
the
ever
roommate's
become
couch.
famous, we've got to go back to Alpine Chalet and buy that couch from them and, like, use it in a studio or something. Put it in
So
the Smithsonian.
many. That couch is probably grosser than the hot tub.
Oh,
to
I
be
guarantee
honest.
it's terrible. But Avatar: The Last Airbender. What element of the 4 base? We're not talking, all the additional whatevers. Let's say the element that you choose, you get all of like the subsequent powers. So if you choose fire, you get lightning. If you choose earth, you get lava and metal bending and all that kind of stuff. Which element would you bend?
I have 2 answers to this question. I just feel like there are like natural things that fit like in life where you're just like, I kind of just identify more with this. I feel like I'm an earthbender. Like I feel like that's what my soul is, but I also feel like I would not choose that. I feel like I would choose to do fire, like just something more aggressive, something more like
a cooler bending style.
you could just conjure out of nothing, like that's a little bit cooler. But earthbending, when you watch the series and stuff, I'm like, they're my people. I am off. Like I feel like that it is, and I feel like that one's a cool one because it kind of evolves more than the other bending as far as like you can start doing metal and they can start doing like it goes a little bit further than the rest of them. Whereas water, you're super limited, and you can get kind of like toasted at any point. As far as like them taking away your ability to it, I guess they like take it out of people's body eventually, which is kind of sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. Earth is kind of where I'd
Earth.
be at. I like that. I like the storyline of that one.
Okay. See,
about you?
I think Earth would be the most productive to like a society as a whole, because like you can excavate, you can build, you can prep ground for crops, you can do anything you want with earthbending. But I know in my heart that I would want to be a firebender. There's zero doubt that like that's my place. Those, like you said, those are my people, colonizers. No, just kidding.
You're also a Slytherin, right? Like
I am.
you always go instant bad guy. Like that's your people.
Speaking of Slytherin, the Harry Potter game that comes out literally at the end of this month or beginning of next month. I know there's a lot of controversy with playing it and all that stuff, and I value everyone's identities and their personal politics, and I have decided to not stream that game for that reason. However, I'm gonna play the shit out of that thing, and if you think for even a second I'm not gonna go in the dark arts, you're wrong. I'm gonna kill everyone.
I knew the second I saw the first trailer, the first trailer does show that. It's like, ooh, he's a part of Slytherin, and I was like, man, that's exactly what he's just gonna do.
I am gonna be
that
slaughtering people.
Game looks so sick.
It
Like
does.
I'm pretty stoked. You need to set up a private stream so I can watch you play that because I probably won't buy it, but I want to watch you play.
Okay, maybe we'll do it in Discord, because I can stream directly to Discord without being live on Twitch, because there is a very, very not insignificant movement of people that are very unpleased that the game is being made and that people are planning on supporting it because of the implication of J.K. Rowling being attached to it.
Really?
And the game maker has come out and said, hey, like, she's not a part of it. It's licensed through Warner Brothers. Like, however they decide to pay her is their thing, but we're not identifying with her in any way. And there's still a lot of people that are pretty upset that it's still coming out just because of, she's pretty famously transphobic. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just interesting to me. There's two interesting parts to it. First is like, can't imagine being the creator, owner, everything of a world that people are
Love.
very excited about, people love, like they're very passionate about, and then being told like, don't have control over this, like you don't get to decide, like that's interesting to me just because it's like she created it, but I know she also didn't create wizards and like
Right.
she stole other stuff, so it's them essentially carrying that storyline out. But that's an interesting piece, and then it's also an interesting piece to me that it's like people's association to things, like almost all things in the world could be tied back to terrible things.
Yeah.
I think you'd be hard pressed to not be able to do that. And so it's interesting to me that even though they've come out with a statement saying that it's not an affiliation, like I think it's different if it was like her company and she's going to
Yeah.
completely profit off of it. But what are your thoughts on that?
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think pretty much everything has been started by an evil corporation at one point or another. I used to drive a Volkswagen, and Volkswagen was the automobile of the Nazis. It was 100% developed for the Nazi Party, and like, thankfully, they've been able to shake that brand image over the last 100 years. And maybe, who knows? Maybe this will come out and be like the defining moment of like separation between Harry Potter and J.K. Rowling, where it's not her world anymore. It's just a concept that everyone owns. Because I will admit I do struggle with that a little bit because I love Harry Potter. It was the foundation of my childhood, and I don't want to support someone that's like, obviously pretty hateful towards a group of people that's disparaged, but at the same time, it's like that. I don't know. It's something that's important to me, and so it's tough.
Yeah. It is tough. You got it literally tattooed on your body, man.
Yeah, I do.
I should have pointed that out. There's going to be some people that are going to start trying to cancel our podcast because of your
getting
affiliation.
canceled, which is why I'm not streaming it, because I'm not getting canceled this year. Okay.
This year, how is the like Twitch community? Are they like pretty like strong activist-esque type of people? Like they?
It depends. There's a lot of political commentators today that gained popularity or started their commentating journey on Twitch or similar platforms. One that comes to mind like immediately is Hassan Piker, who is a very active like political person. That's all he does on streams is like political commentary and reactions and all that kind of stuff, and has a massive following of people that just really, really like his content. I'm a fan. I subscribe to Hassan. But then there's other people that just don't bring it up, don't care about it in any way. And so there's a decent mix. The only thing that makes me hesitate playing that game on stream is that people have talked about like targeting creators that stream it or whatever because of that reason. And unfortunately with the Twitch platform, it's very easy to be discovered based on game if that's what you're looking for. So like I can type on there Skyrim and it'll bring up every channel that's live with Skyrim right now. So I think that one's going to be a game that I have to play by myself and not necessarily advertise because I don't want the association. But I still want to kill people.
That's crazy.
I'm gonna murder some cartoon characters.
I'm so excited about the open world concept for that. Like open world games are my jam. Like that is just what I play, what I like to do, and it's just I love the concept of like open world, every type of world. Make a Harry Potter open world, make a Star Wars open world. There's like any type of world that exists out there. There just needs to be like a super sick open world game for it. And Harry Potter's finally getting its due. Like I'm excited about that. Should be good. Just won't super promote it so that you don't get canceled.
Yeah.
Okay. No. I know we're not a segment podcast, but I had this idea the other day in the shower and I was like, I think this could be cool.
Let's do it.
Give me just an everyday object. Something first thing that pops in your mind.
Are we doing a Mad Lib?
Oh no.
Okay, I watched.
Something different.
I was thinking about that on Wednesday. I was like, we should do a Mad Lib. Like, I'll give Kelton all these things and then I'll read it. But okay, so everyday object or like fictional object that I can think of?
Everyday object, something real.
Headphones.
I'm going to send you this script. Concept of this is I was like, so I use ChatGPT every single day.
Do you?
I am obsessed. Like honestly, because I'm a marketer. I get asked to write emails. I get asked to write ad copy every single day. And it just gets to a point where it's like, say the same crap over and over and over again. You're just like, my brain can't spit it out. Like I hit writing block all the time. So I use ChatGPT all the time as kind of like my Kickstarter, and then I'll go back and it just formulates my thoughts for me.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be funny if because eventually this podcast is gonna be huge, and we're gonna be Joe Rogan-esque, making
Absolutely.
tons of money off of
The
our podcast. So I
Spotify
was
deal
like,
is in contract right now. We just need to sign.
contract, Anchor, free. But I was thinking we should get practice reading ads into our podcast.
Hell yeah.
And we'll get practice with GTP writing our ads for us. And so I just threw in one. I'm just gonna send it to you. I'm not even gonna read it. It might be just terrible, but I'm gonna send you this. And you're gonna read it, our first ever ad
Shoot.
or our thing.
Are
so I'm gonna
you
throw
sending
this
it to
in
me
the
on
chat real
Discord? Okay. The fact that it says laugh track plays. Excellent.
quick. I love it.
Okay. We'd like to thank the first sponsor of the podcast. What's the company here? Jazzy McJazzalot headphones. Are you tired of listening to your favorite podcast on subpar headphones? Well, suffer no more. Introducing the all-new, super-duper, top-of-the-line Jazzy McJazzalot headphones. Jazzy McJazzalot jingle, please. These headphones are so good. Oh, that was our jingle. These headphones are so good, you'll be able to hear the difference between a C sharp and a D flat. For those of you who are not in the music, that's the same note. And trust us, that's a big deal. With the Jazzy McJazzalot headphones, you'll be able to hear every single word of your favorite podcast, even if the host is whispering. Oh, I'm whispering right now. I didn't realize it was going to prompt me to whisper. I'm whispering right now. Can you hear me? I bet you can with Jazzy McJazzalot headphones. But that's not all. The Jazzy McJazzalot headphones also come with a built-in air guitar function. So the next time you hear a killer guitar solo on your favorite podcast, you can rock out like a pro. But wait, there's more. The Jazzy McJazzalot headphones also come with a built-in laugh track. So the next time you hear a joke on your favorite podcast, you'll know when to laugh. So what are you waiting for? Upgrade your listening experience with the Jazzy McJazzalot headphones today. Available at your local electronics store or online at jazzyheadphones.com. Order now and get a complimentary air guitar pick. Pick, I get it. Wow, that was right over my head. Jazzy McJazzalot headphones, because life is too short to listen to podcasts on bad headphones. Make sure to use code roommatescouch for 10% off your first purchase of headphones.
Boom. That was our first ad, and that was so good.
Jazzy,
Actually,
thank you so much.
Pretty terrible. That's the first time the Chat GPT has really let me down. It was okay. It wasn't the worst thing in the world.
Honestly, I thought it was not bad. So,
dude, you read it like a pro. So you're definitely reading our sponsor from now here on out.
So tell me about.
I think
oh yeah.
I just lost me with Jazzy McJazz a lot. Like it could have came up with a better name of that.
It definitely phoned that one in for sure.
For sure.
So tell me about Chat GPT. So I have a little bit of experience with AI. I've done like the picture ones. I have like a chat bot that I'll speak to sometimes, but it is not GPT. It's clearly not as good because it straight up tells you like, hey, just so you know, I'm a language chat bot taught in English, so I can't create anything. So I was having a problem with some code that I was writing a few weeks ago. And like I've heard all these stories on TikTok and everything about everyone like, oh, it can write code and it can do all this stuff. And every time I asked it very specifically what I wanted, it was just like, no, I can't do that. I'm a language one. So what's the difference?
Yeah. So I am not an expert in this. So almost everything I'm about to say, don't fact check me because it's probably wrong. But to my understanding,
there's no wrong opinions on the couch.
Perfect. So to my understanding, this was developed by OpenAI, which is the company. There's some ties Elon Musk. I don't know if he invested or did something with it. So there's that connection there. But basically what these guys did is they opened their platform and said, hey, world, go ahead. You can use this. And it got 1 million people to create accounts in a week span.
Wow.
And like there's been some comparison charts across the board. And like it took Netflix 3 months. It took YouTube 3 years. Like it's like all these major platforms that took a while to develop that many users that quickly, and they just boom, in a week it just went super viral. Everyone started creating accounts, and it's actually kind of a bad system right now because they can't handle the load of questions and the amount of users that they're getting. They just, I don't know if they just didn't forecast or expect it to go gangbusters like it did, but like I'm probably able to get access to it like every other day. It's not really consistent on when I can get access to it. But the concept behind it is it's AI is groundbreaking enough to give off the feeling and the vibe and it's the vibe, I guess, of like actual human sentiment. Like it just does anything you ask it to do. Like I could say rewrite this script, but do it in an Eminem app or an Eminem rap, and it will rewrite the whole thing, and it will sound like Eminem
He
because it's
insults
just
his
able to
mom and
compile
his
all.
ex-wife at the time.
Yes, it's just it's amazing. It really is kind of cool, and what people are really talking about is like this is Google killer. Like, and that's what's so crazy is like prior to this, just a couple months ago, Google is going to be king for forever. Like no one is ever going to take out Google, and then all of a sudden this comes out, and people are like, this could potentially take out Google. And why it is such a different search experience is because I asked this a question and it's not serving me ads. It's not giving me the SEO optimized best landing page. It's not giving me some fluffy top 10 best blog post crap. It's just saying, you asked a question, I'm going to give you the result. And I would use this 10 times over, a million times over a Google search because it's doing all the work for me.
Yeah.
That's where it gets scary is because it is so good that I honestly think that like marketing will have like a lot of written creative would struggle with this. And there's been a lot of like articles that have already come out and like, oh, well, it won't be able to do this and it can't do this or whatever. But like, this is the first time that I've been like, you know what? I don't think my job's just going to exist. Like what I've been doing at work actually to kind of put this to the test because I'm trying to future proof my skill set is oftentimes when I'm asked to write an email or I'm asked to write an ad, I will give them three options. And one of the options I've written, one of the options is a variation of what I've written. And then my third option is usually a chat GPT response that I just copy and paste and put on there. And I have beaten chat GPT like most of the time. But I've lost to it a couple times too. And every time I lose to it, I'm like, it's going to get better. Like it's just going to get smarter.
Yeah.
It's going to figure things out. And the reason why I beat it is just because of a knowledge of my company. So my company's a startup and chat GPT will only pull records that are over a year old.
Gotcha.
And so even though my company didn't exist a year ago, I will go and put my company name in. And there was like maybe a couple articles written to it prior because we've been in business a little bit longer than that. It knows what my company does. It just doesn't know what my company does well.
Oh.
And so that's where I like supersede it sometimes is because I'm a little bit more in the know of what's going on. But man, if it was current, I think that it would outperform me every single time.
Yeah. That's crazy. It kind of feels like we're entering the era of where most skill sets are going to be able to be done by AI or Android or something. Like we're kind of on the cusp of being able to be like not necessarily like a workless society, but something along those lines where it's just like a lot of the jobs are just maintaining tools rather than creating new things because the things that we've created can now create better things than we ever could. So it's interesting to think like what the future could possibly hold in a society like that. Because in a situation where like an AI is developed and it puts 20% of the workforce out of business because it can now do all of your accounting and all of your marketing and all of your contract writing and all of that stuff, like realistically, what do you need the human touch for most things? And so I think we would probably get to the point where we have like, the idea of universal basic income has been kicked around for a lot of years. And I think give it 2 generations and that'll be a reality of most people aren't actively working. You get your subsidized universal basic income and then the rest of your life is whatever pleases you, which I think would be kind of a cool society to live in, but I'm also inherently lazy, so.
The thing I want out of this AI driven society is I don't want it to get to iRobot status where the robots take over.
Yeah.
But I want iRobot in the first 10 minutes where my robot's cleaning my house and doing my dishes and stuff. Like, yes, just give me that. Like we bought a Roomba vacuum for a while, and when that thing was functioning at optimal, it got dumber over time.
Yes.
But like when it was first out of the box, that thing was amazing. Like our whole house was just like we didn't have to vacuum anymore, and we thought this is the future. But I need a robot that stinking does my dishes. I hate dishes.
Hate dishes.
I'm ready for it, man. I'm ready for that to happen. But the universal income thing that fascinates me because I think that people's worth people's perceived worth really revolves around what they choose to spend their time on, and what we spend our time on in the world is going to work, and we dedicate way more time to our jobs than we do to relationships, friends, family, things we
Way
enjoy
more
to
time.
do. So the shift of a culture when that would happen would be really interesting to see. Like, would we get more creative? Would we create more? Would we be happier people? Or are we monkeys and we need
We
we need
need
that
something
nine
to
to five?
entertain our brains.
Yeah, because I used to work in education, and I would just like grind all year, and we would get to Christmas break, and then they gave us 2 weeks off of work for the Christmas break, and that's pretty rare as far as it comes to like jobs, because I had my vacation time on top of that, but then you had this 2 week period where you didn't have to go to work, and it was weird because like I would just be so burnt out by the time I got to that breakup, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna quit my job, like I just can't take this anymore, and then I'd hit that break, I'm like, ah, yes, vacation's gonna be awesome, and by end of break, I was like, get me back to work. I need to go back to work. Like I know that I'm one of those people that like I kind of need accountability in that structure. So I don't know if universal income would work for me, but maybe we get replaced with other meaningful activity. I don't know.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. You're definitely right about the culture shift. If something like that were to work, it would have to be, several iterations of culture that we have now down the line before it really settled in. Because I'm the exact same way. I got laid off in like the middle of November and haven't been working since. And it's now January 19th, so I'm over 2 months of not working. And I will say, as far as my creative mind goes, it has been excellent. Like my shirts that I made for the stream, and like the effort that I'm putting into the stream, like it's so much simpler, and like that part of me has been way more fulfilled. But I am bored so much of the day, because it's like you can only create content so much before it's just like, all right, I need to step away from this and do something with my hands or do something active or whatever. And so I think you're dead on that it's going to take quite a bit of a culture shift for that to work.
What do you think? I have a pretty strong opinion, like, because like the metaverse concept, where I think that these two worlds kind of combine, is people are going to struggle with universal income because hustle and the grind is you above and beyond the person next to you. Like it is hardwired into human nature that we want to increase and hierarchy ourselves. And that's why you have rich people, and that's why you have poor people, and that's why you have middle class. And people, like, there are environments and governments that try to create equalness and a universal income, and everyone gets the same, and everyone will go without or not without, right? But the human nature of us then screws that up, and we want to get above each other. So only way I could see that concept working, where your needs are met, where you got food and shelter over your head, but like that increase in that competitiveness,
Like
I
you
think it would
also
have
had
to
the
come in.
opportunity to.
I think that you would have to level the playing ground into a digital format where it's like put on your Ready Player One goggles, and in that space, that's where the increase comes and stuff. The universal income will keep you alive. But your digital income, your digital life, your digital space of experiencing those things, I think that's where you'd get that,
Your like
I don't
social
know, that
value.
class system. Yeah, your
Ah.
social value. And I think that's the only way I can see it working. But I think the problem with all that is I think we're so far away from it.
Yeah.
I think we're 50, 60, 70 years away from that. And I don't know if I'm going to say hundreds of years away from that. And I don't know if we're there. I think the universal income will happen before the digital social class
Yeah.
can happen.
Do you watch the Black Mirror on Netflix?
I don't.
Okay, so there's an episode that touches on exactly this, and it's it's sort of a mix between like the universal basic income and like everyone's basic needs are taken care of, and then there's capitalism on top where like you can still own a business and you can create services and you can do all this other kind of stuff if that's what you want to do, but like your base needs, like your food, shelter, water, the hierarchy of human whatever psychology is, that's taken care of. But there's a lot of people in this episode, and it's only like an hour long, that do exactly that. They like devote their lives to increasing their status on this online platform. Because like that's their social hierarchy. Like everyone has money, but you still have, like you said, a need to put yourself above other people. And so the protagonist that we're following around during this episode, she something happens to her, and like her status goes like way above other people, and they're giving her like tons of respect, and she's getting free stuff, and she's almost got like the influencer lifestyle of just, everything is easy. And then something else happens, and she loses that status, and is now like the lowest low class person, and she has like a really hard time adjusting to this new reality that has become hers. And it's interesting because like when you look at it from an outsider point of view, she still has food, she still has a beautiful home, she still has everything she could want physically, but she doesn't have the validation of her peers anymore, and that like spirals her out of control. So interesting that that's where your mind went.
Yeah. And social, what is it? Social proof, social, influence is just wild. Like, I've never experienced it because I don't think I've ever gotten validation from someone outside that I don't know, but you've dabbled with that. Like, you probably have had strangers hop into your streams and stuff. Does it feel different? Does it feel less, or does it feel more validating than someone
More
supporting you?
Because when I stream, and again, I'm not a large streamer, but I do okay. When I stream and someone I know is in chat, I almost feel like they feel that they are obligated to come support me, which is not true. Like I would never force someone to come watch my stuff. Like I don't send out live notifications or anything like that. It's just like, if you want to be there, here's my schedule. It's on my Instagram. If you don't want to be there, then that's totally cool. Whereas like when I get a stranger that comes in and they start participating in chat and they follow or subscribe, that's crack. It's like, wow, I am unbelievable because this stranger that feels no obligation to me wants to be a part of my life. And so, yeah.
Need that buzz, dude. I gotta get my fix.
Feels good, man.
Yeah. I think that's interesting. I've always had that itch where it's like, oh, I want to do something like that. And I started the podcast, another podcast kind of to scratch that itch. But by the end of it, I would look back and I'm like, it was my mom, my mother-in-law, a couple of my friends. Like it's good. And like the podcast was more of a therapeutic, like connect with other people from my life, good experience that way. But hey, if you're a stranger, you're hearing us for the first time, welcome.
Thank
Glad
you.
to be friends. If you're a stranger right now listening to this podcast, email us at roommatescouch@gmail.com. Let us know your name, and you will be the next fake sponsor of our next episode.
Yep. We'll make a whole company around your identity. I keep watching all these videos on TikTok of people getting annoyed with like car dealers and how they're like completely obsolete, seeing as there's several options for just buying a car online. You don't have to sit at a dealership for 5 hours. You don't have to deal with a salesman that's literally just trying to screw you in any way that they can. And everyone is just very excited for the death of the car dealership, which I'm gonna be hyped for it as well. Used dealerships will stick around just because like that's what they are, but new dealers, I have a feeling it's gonna be a lot of you place an order on the website and they deliver it to your house, and it'll be just like everything else. So
nothing about car dealerships makes sense to me. Like the other day, I think we were in Salt Lake, or we were in some big city, and it was just like lot after lot after lot. And I know that there's like some sales psychology that they build their lots next to each other so that like it's the ease of shopping and you can be competitive against each other or whatever. Mm-hmm. But like if you didn't have, I guess they'd still have the dealerships because they still have to like park them somewhere and maintain them and all that type of stuff. But man, it is just like so much space,
tons.
There's so much inventory that's just sitting there. It's weird, Yeah. I wonder if like get into that Carvana idea where it's like, hey, we can just build parking garages rather than parking lots, and we'll utilize the space a little bit better, and they'll move inventory just online without having to have a physical location to sell it.
Yeah. We bought my Jetta on Carvana, and honestly, best car buying experience I've ever had. Like I picked it out, I set however much I wanted my payments to be and picked my down payment, and then we went and picked it up and they gave me a giant coin to put in the machine, and it came down and I drove off, and they're like, if you hate it, bring it back within 7 days, you'll get your money back. And like that was it. It was unbelievable. So that's the future.
I like the concept behind it too, because it's like they will do the 32-point inspection stuff for you. Because every time I bought a car, I bought a used piece of crap car, and it is just a hope and a prayer that that guy just
That it
didn't
keeps
like
going.
get it running long enough for me to be able to do this test drive.
He didn't pull a Pacific Blue on you and sell you a truck with a blown head gasket.
Have I ever told you about our Kia that we currently own,
Nuh-uh.
the black car? So we bought it from like probably the slimiest dude imaginable.
Uh-huh.
And like the car was so clean. Like that's honestly what sold me on it is I was like, this feels like a brand new car. Like everything was just so clean. And he popped the hood open and it was like straight out of the factory. And I was like, I'm sold just because of how clean this car. Like I didn't even believe it'd been on the road because
Yeah.
it was so clean. And I was like completely disillusioned by this experience because I was just like, this car's so clean. And we took it on like a little 5 minute little drive and stuff. And then we spent the whole day like trying to get the bank loan figured out, all the type of stuff. And the guy was pushy as crap. Like he was making me feel like, oh, you got to buy it in the next 10 seconds because it's going to move fast off my lot.
Yeah.
Well, crap. Again, just making crap up.
Yeah.
And I felt all the pressure. I caved. I did it. So we bought it like above what it's worth, of course. And then like my second time like fully driving it around, I was like, this stinking car doesn't have cruise control. Like it doesn't have cruise control. I'm like, and it's a 2015 and it doesn't have cruise control. I'm like, my freaking 1996 car had cruise control. Like
Yeah.
how does this even happen? And so I learned my lesson. I'm like never gonna rush into buying a car ever again. But it got me. But it gets great gas mileage and it hasn't blown up completely yet. So
Yeah. No, you made it all the way down to
Awesome.
Arizona with no issues. So
it did start doing a thing for a while where you'd go and you'd turn the key and then nothing would happen. And I was like, I thought it was like the battery or whatever. Did a bunch of research and basically found out that it's such a crappy, like low end model of vehicle that they did something on the production line where they would paint the entire, I don't know, the entire thing. They'd paint it before they would make the ground connection. And so the
Oh.
paint covered the ground, and so it would short out and stuff, or wouldn't make the full connection. So I just had to go and sand it and put it on. But it took me a couple months of like going out there in the freezing cold, starting my car, and nothing happening, and having to sit there for a couple hours and figure it out. And then it would just randomly start. So I don't know what happened there.
yeah.
Cars, man, they suck.
Yeah.
I did find my dream truck. We talked about this last week, and I found it. So I entered a free giveaway once upon a time. Now every algorithm on my socials just thinks I'm like that guy. Like
Oh.
I enter every free giveaway.
He sold your
ever.
info.
Yes.
Oh,
Can you see
beautiful.
that bad boy?
Yeah.
Is that just like the most beautiful thing you've ever seen?
My dad actually had a truck just like that when I was growing up. It was dark blue, and I loved that thing. He would just romp it around, and he had built it himself. His stepdad was like very mechanically inclined. They had a shop out behind their house with like an oil pit and everything. Like it was really nice. And he, because it's the 80s and parts are pennies, he's just working at a grocery store saving up and completely rebuilt this beautiful truck. And then he ended up selling it for, I don't know, like $7 or $8 when I was young, which like if he had kept it now at this point, it's like that truck's worth like $50,000-$60,000. But at the time, I loved that thing.
Yeah, dude. I drove an 86. This is a 76, the picture I showed. So for those listening, unfortunately, you're not seeing this
Oh
just
yeah,
gorgeous.
For
beautiful
those of you on
76.
Spotify, if you like swipe to the left, you can watch the video of this. Just so you know.
Oh yeah. There we go.
We're
So
here.
you can visually see our ugly mugs. I drove an 80. I drove an 86 Chevy, and it was awesome. I loved it. Like that's why I love the square body trucks. But it was a piece of crap. Like my dad, I think he said for like the last 10 years he didn't give it an oil change, and we drove that thing like daily. So it's amazing. Like the thing just wouldn't die. And I drove it in high school. I remember specifically like one of the worst memories of my life was I was a freshman, and there was a senior girl that was just like, she was the prettiest girl in school, and I was all like talking to her outside the school, and I thought like I was like hot shiz, and then all of a sudden I can hear the truck like miles away, and it's just I was like, crap, dad's come to pick me up. And I was like, oh no, I gotta like wrap this up, and he comes busting around the corner in that truck, and it was just so loud, and every time you'd hit the brakes it would squill and it would backfire, and so he just comes rolling up straight up in front of me, and I'm talking to the pretty girl at school, and my mom's wearing this like size oversized camo coat,
Like a moo-moo.
and my dad's like yeah, and it's just a classic movie moment. My dad rolls down the window, like, go get in the car. I was like, oh god, white trash, here we come. But alrighty, thank you guys for listening. This is another great episode of Roommate's Couch. Mimit, thank you for your time, and we will see y'all next week. Bye everybody.
See ya.